Hi, I'm Jen of JST Knitwear Designs, and today I just want to really quickly talk to you about knitting garter in the round. So when you knit garter in the round, you knit a row or round and then you purl around. And because you're doing it in, as I say, like when we're knitting in the round, we generally we're knitting in a helix. We're going up around every time we come to a new round. So for example, if you look here, we have like a jog so that the purl ridges are not actually aligning up with each round. And that's because when we knit on the round, as I say, we go up a row or we step up a row to start the next round. So this purl round ends here, and then we start with our knit round, and that so because we step up, and so we literally you get a stagger. Now there's a couple of ways you can get around doing that, and how I do it is as follows. So here I am. If you imagine that this is two separate large skeins, or a skein that you've divided in half. So literally, it's actually quite good if you've got, like a big project and your skeins are not matching up color wise, and hand-dyed yarns, that can happen quite a lot. So we alternate between the two skeins to knit. So it's kind of similar process, except this is for garter in the round as opposed to stocking stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to cast on like a long tail. So, but instead of estimating how much yarn you need for your long tail, literally take the two ends of the yarn. I'm going to make a slip knot because I quite like an anchored stitch before I start my long tail cast on. And we're literally then going to use the two working yarns to cast on our stitches. So we've got our front yarn and we've got our back yarn. Our front yarn kind of tends to be the purl ridges of our garter in the round, and our back yarn tends to be our knit stitches, our knit rounds. So anyway, we just cast on how many stitches the pattern called you to cast on. I'm just going to cast on around here for knitting in the round so I can show you how this works. Oops. So yeah, so as you can see, we have our two skeins. We're doing one strand from each side and we're casting on our stitches. So here we are. I've just cast on my stitches. I'm about to put in my end of round marker, which I will do so. And then we're going to have our first knit round. So basically what we're going to do is, that's going to be my purl because this naturally is lying to the front. So this was my first anchor stitch. Remember where I did the slip knot on the double? So I'm just going to slide him off because we don't want a double stitch there. And we just let him out and then we start our round. So when we're knitting in the round, we knit the first round and then we purl the next round of stitches. So before I get to the end, in order to avoid doing our jogged ridge purl stitch, I'm going to show you what you do with the stitches. So initially, the very first round is I'm going to pick up my backhand yarn, or it doesn't really matter, but the neater side is the yarn from the back is going to be the knit stitches. So I'm going to knit all the way around until I get to my end of round marker. So I will see you back there just before we get to the end of round marker, and I'll show you what we do with the stitches. So you just keep working around, and I'll see you back there in a moment. So here we are with just a few stitches before our end of round marker, and we're still doing our knit round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop about 3 stitches before the end of round marker, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip these purlwise. So this is kind of just very similar as if you're doing helical knitting in the round on a stocking stitch, and then you would switch the yarn to a different skein and work from different skeins. Same thing, except we're going to actually purl it. So now I'm going to take my yarn from the front here. I'm going to slip my end of round marker because we want to keep our end of round marker in the same position. And then we're literally going to purl all our next round stitches. And we just purl them all the way around. And so we're going to continue to work all the way around to, again, a few stitches before this strand where we knit our stitches. And then that's when we're going to stagger the start, or you know, pretend that we're actually starting the round. Well, we actually are starting the round back here, even though our end of row marker or end of round marker is here. So again, we're on our second round, so we're going to purl all our stitches to say 2 or 3 stitches before that last working yarn for the knit round. Okay, and I will see you back there in a moment. So here I am, I've just purled my second round of garter all the way around to here, and now I'm about a few stitches before our knit round yarn. So I'm going to actually just knit up to maybe say 2 stitches before it. You can be 2 or 3. I'm going to do 2 here. And then what I want to do is I actually want to slip these again purlwise. So 1, 2, we drop our purl yarn, and now we're going to pick up our knit yarn at the back, and then we're going to continue. We're going to knit through all the way around again, slipping the end of round marker, and continue to knit because we haven't knit these stitches yet because we're literally now starting the next round. And we're going to knit all the way around again until we reach this yarn for the purl stitches. Okay, and we're going to stomp a few stitches beforehand and do the same thing again. So we're staggering the start of the end of the round with the yarns back here so that it makes here flow and there's not that up with the new yarns or with the new round starting, so you don't get the step up as if you're knitting in the round regularly. So I'm going to knit around and I'll see you around there in a few moments again, and you'll start to see this form after a couple of rounds. And it's quite nice. So here we go. I will see you in a moment. So here I am coming back up on my next knit round, and here is my purl stitch round. So again, I'm going to stop a couple of stitches before this, and then I'm going to slip those stitches purlwise. So let's just see, where am I now? 1 more. Okay, so this is our knit round, and I'm going to slip these 2 purlwise. Then I'm going to pick up my purl yarn, and then we're going to purl with this, and we're going to purl around again, and this is what you just keep doing while you keep going knitting. So let's just see after this, do we start to see our ridges lining up, which we should do. So we're going to slip our end around, and now because we slip those stitches, the stagger disappears. So let's have a look. So yes, as you can see, so now our purl stitches run purl straight across. This was our first purl round, so you will have that below, although when you join it up, it doesn't look as bad. So it's like as if you imagine you're going up and up and up a helter-skelter instead of going down and down. So your first round will always just be starting off from obviously the beginning, and then that scoops around, but you don't get the line, so you avoid having this line where the staggered ridges of the purl rows go, or purl rounds. So I'm going to continue a couple more rounds just to show you when you can see it a little bit more, but you keep working to a couple of stitches before each of these, and then you'll start to see all of your nice purl ridges, rows, all lined up nicely with no stagger. So I'll see you after a couple of more rounds and I'll show you what it looks like. Hi, so here I am. I'm just coming to the end of another knit round, and I'm going to slip these 2 and I'm about to start my purling. So drop that yarn and slip the 2 purlwise, and then let's just purl across again, and then I think after this round it becomes very clear that you can see no stagger when you get past here. Slip around the row marker, round, row, round. Okay, so if we have a look at this, what we have, as you can see, we've got 2, we've worked 3 ridges. Well, the first one, obviously, because we don't have anything to join it with, so that's going to be the beginning of our garter, and then you can just see the next 2 rounds after that. It's seamless, there's no jog, and it's a nice clean transition because we staggered it back here through the stitches on the knit side, which is quite a nice trick. Now, all this is well for if you're knitting in the round and you want to continue just knitting straight and there's no patterns. However, if you get patterns or you have stitch increases to do in a round, you need to ensure that both your strands are back at the beginning, because you need to make sure that you've actually worked your full round. Because at the moment we haven't actually worked this round in the knit stitches yet, because we're back here and we've got to get back up to here. So how we do that is we're going to work all the way around again, and then when we get to here we need to slip back to our stitches and then work the stitches that we haven't got, so we end up with both strands of yarn here. Now I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to continue knitting this as if we're doing it a regular way, and I'll show you when we come around here how we do that to get our two strands back together at the end of round marker. So here we are, and we've purled around to just before we're going to pick up our knit round. Okay, so I'm going to slip these two regularly. Now I'm going to knit this one because we're on our knit round, but when I get to my end of round marker here, I'm going to actually stop. I'm not going to continue on knitting because the round after this is calling for, say, a round of increases if we're doing, say, a yoke, for example. So I'm going to work my way over, because I haven't done the knit stitches. These stitches haven't been knit, nor have they been purled. So we're going to work over. So here I am, I'm at my end of round marker now, and I've worked the stitches, but they haven't been purled because we've been slipping them, so they haven't been worked at all. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to slip back to here. So here's my end of round. So we've got one strand, we've got our knit strand is over here. And we're going to slip these back all the way over till we get to our yarn here. And then we're going to purl these stitches up to our end of round marker, and then we end up, we have worked all of the stitches and we're kind of back to the start again, as if we've just cast on, if you can imagine that. But each of the stitches has been worked the correct number of times. So we just get back over here. And now here we are at our end of round marker. Just pull those tighter. So now we have our two yarns. We have our purl yarn and our knit yarn, or two separate skeins, but they're still hooked up. So if you're, your pattern then asks you to do your increases, then you can continue on around and work your increases and then start your stagger again after that. That's how I do it, and I hope this helps. So as you can see there, we've got two nice little purl with no stagger, so it avoids this happening. Now if you've only got a short amount of garter rounds, I think this is pretty okay. Most of the time it's at the back. If you've got long hair, it covers. But if you want to be, more particular and have them all aligned up nicely, I tend to do this. I think it works out quite nicely. So I hope that helps, and enjoy doing some non-jogless garter in the round. Okay, bye.